Thank you. Lovely to be here again for the last round for this year, guys. I'm so excited to deliver today to you because this is one of the most pivotal pieces that I teach people. I work with large and small entrepreneurs. I think my most successful is around the sort of 20 odd million mark in an individual business, and I work with big guys like Merck Pharmaceutical. But this stuff works no matter what level you are. It works whether you're just starting up, and it works whether you're right in the middle of your scale up, or it works whether you're in the massive enterprise going public stage. So do get a pen. Do make sure you're grabbing as much value from this as you can. It's about 40 minutes of me talking quite fast because I get really overexcited at this subject. And then we'll go to Q&A at the end to help make this really personal for you all. It's lovely to see so many of you here today. And Hella, I've spoken to you before. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming along. I've got a PowerPoint, but it's more about the energy around this that I want to really convey to you, because I want to come through the screen at you now. I want to come through the screen. I'm going to stare at you right now. This is all about moving past you just dipping your toe into the water, because everybody dips their toe at first. Everybody starts scared. Everybody starts on the edge, right? To have the quantum shifts, to have those mindset flips where you suddenly get traction means jumping in. And you might decide by the end of today that actually you're really comfortable. You don't want to jump in, because that's a choice too. It is a choice to not choose. It is a choice to stay stuck. It is a choice to keep procrastinating. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. I know that's a big thing to say, but the reason we dip our toe is because we're checking. We're afraid the water's cold. And so we don't jump. And guess what, guys? I can save you a lot of time by telling you the water is freezing. The water's freezing, fact, but there is always somebody in the water. There's always somebody swimming. And testing is not going to help you. Testing the water with your toe is just going to slow you down. Why? Because you can test it with your toe and your mind can say, I still want to get in and swim, but your body will override you because it's felt how bloody cold that is. And you've got to get to the stage where you understand that testing with your toe just prolongs that decision making and prolongs the getting to where we want to go, which is these quantum leaps. It is these moments where we can collapse time. We can run a business that serves heart and soul and changes the world because you're in it. We can do this. We can make these things happen if you learn to jump. So I'm going to teach you how to jump today. That's what we're here for, because you've got to learn to handle the cold. It is cold, but there's always somebody swimming. And you can choose to still be in. I want to give you my lived experience of this today, because I want you to swim with me as I'm swimming. There's always somebody in the water, and those people have got over that putting their toe in. And I want to fast forward you to where you can make these big leaps and these big shifts that make the difference. Because guess what, guys? You are going to fall on your face anyway. I guarantee it. There is going to come a point where you are going to fail anyway. That is always available. And why do we need that? Why do we need this to happen? Because we need to make sure that people understand the difference between cold and hot. Otherwise, hot would just feel like burning. It would feel like a stinging sensation. You have to have the light with the dark. You cannot appreciate light unless you've had the dark. So we need pain. Why do we need pain? You have to fail. It has to hurt. And pain is like the envelope on the stamp that brings you the lesson. It can't travel without the pain. Why? Because if life is unending comfort, there is no sensation. You just numb out. We get taught from a very young age to avoid failure, and that's why a lot of us procrastinate. We get taught from a very young age to be fearful of pain. And what happens? We start to play small. We start to be cautious, and we start to do this horrific loop, which starts with wanting, but then you decide to not let yourself try because you're afraid of the pain. Then you decide that you don't want to try very hard because then you'll look stupid when you fail because you've already decided you will. So then what happens is you don't get the results. So then you quit. And then you have all of this shame and guilt, living like you're wearing this coat. And you then pretend you didn't want it anyway. And guess what, guys? This is pain. And some people live their whole life in this cycle. And my mission is freeing people from this, is teaching people to jump, teaching them to jump with me, to follow my lived experience, because you are going to fail at some point. You will hurt. You will hurt. What we have to get to is not being afraid of that pain and embracing it, because we're never afraid of the pain itself. We're afraid we can't handle it. We're afraid we can't handle it. And we've got to choose to move out of that unconscious pain and choose to move towards pleasure. I'm going to explain all of this. I just want to give you the overview, the zoomed out view. For those of you dynamo thinkers, which are helicopter brains, we're going to be talking more about how you process this. But we've got to embrace this duality first before we understand that a lot of the reason we procrastinate is the avoidance of pain. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my slide deck. Let me hope. Duncan, you need to enable screen sharing for me. Are you still there, Duncan? Let me see.
You should be okay now. Apologies.
Thank you, lovely. Much obliged. Let's go. And those of you that stick around to the end, I do have a little free gift for you that is actually not so little. So please plug in, use this time, accept that you're here for this time and really decide to get the most out of it. I'm live. This is really me. This is not a recording. I'm here for you to give you as much content as I can in this 40 minutes. But then at the end, there's something special as well that I want to talk to you about. So hang around if you can for that. So what are we doing here today? How to stop procrastinating forever. Just a small promise then, something important. I always talk about what works. I talk about maximum productivity. I'm a flow consultant and a peak performance consultant. I always go from the point of view of what is your brain trying to get you to do? My program's called Tame Your Brain for a reason. And it's that your body won't go where your mind doesn't push it. Your mind can override that body teetering on the edge of that freezing cold water. It can override when it's strong enough. And I'm teaching you mind strength. I'm teaching you how to use your brain like one of these magnificent big cats. This is for you when you want to get to that level where 10K months are normal, where you're tired of how it feels when it goes wrong, and you're fed up with it feeling wrong. You want it to feel easy. Now, here's a clue. None of this is easy in itself, but you can make it feel easy when you're using your brain the right way. I ask one thing of you, and that is to make sure you're paying full attention. Do not get distracted. Don't minimize me and start scrolling for that little dopamine hit. We're all so well trained these days. You have to choose. So I always ask, my plea to all of you is please commit right now to watching and playing full out today. Just jump in the chat and give me a yes. I need you to commit to this. This is a real choice. We're starting to make choices now. And anyone that works with me knows this. I ask you to commit for a reason. So get in there, guys. I need to actually open my chat box. Obviously, that would help, wouldn't it? See what's going on in the world. Committed, says Diane. Yes, from Xander. Completely with you, from Hella. Let's go, from Jean. Thank you, guys. This is all a good start. This is a good start. So what does this look like? Love this slide more than life itself. We know stuff about your brain. We know stuff. We know how this works. So I'm asking you deliberately switch on your curiosity buttons. Get curious about this. Because the reason I'm here platformed in front of you is we've got the validity. We've got all the data behind this stuff. There's a big gap between what science knows and what the world does. Always. We're seeing it now, right? With all the scientists telling us lots of things, but are people doing it yet? We need to decide what we're going to do. Now, here's the thing. A lot of this is based on flow. I hope you've all got a profile that you know what you are. You all should have, if you're in this community, you've presumably gone through the steps and done those early micro degrees. I use slightly different personalities layered over the profiles because I think in animals, and everything's about cats because cats. And so for me, they become these mighty big cat personalities. And we're going to talk through, because depending on what neurology you're running, you're either going to be an early adopter or more of a habit creature. You're either going to look for removal of anxiety or the gain of variety. There's a difference between how our brains operate, and I'm going to talk you through that. And we need to also understand where you are now has a bearing to play on it, right? If you're just in that early phase of the dream and the build, it's different than if you're at the scale. And I work with both ends, as I've said. This applies to both. But what are we talking about? When I say terrain, what do we mean? Well, this is the first step of Tame Your Brain. Terrain refers to knowing the ground under your feet, getting really clear, not seeing it worse than it is, not seeing it better than it is, but you must get clear on where you're standing before you can then do the next step, which is aim. AIM is about moving you to the part where you are then flying, you're in flight, because a plane never just takes off. And if you say to the pilot, where are you going? Where are we heading today? And he goes, don't know. Let's see, shall we? It doesn't work like that, guys. It really doesn't work like that. It works by setting your instruments to a destination. So we must get our aim. And sometimes you can't even say out loud what you want, right? That's another form of procrastinating, because you're almost embarrassed to want it, because that cycle we talked about earlier. If I want it and then I try and I fail, does it mean I'm not good enough? Does it mean I therefore won't be loved? Those are the two biggest human fears, guys. We all run away from those, and I'm going to talk to you more about that in a minute. We then need to move. We must move. We have to move. We have to throw that plane in the air, right? We have to get that traction. So we start by finding our terrain, looking at our runway, then we aim, and then we must actually move. And this is another big part that people get wrong with procrastination. They think it is a lack of movement. Actually, sometimes it's the previous two. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not broken. You just are running some avoidance behaviors, and I'll explain what those are as well. Now, let's get clear on terrain. It's not the same as the map in your head. You might be sitting there about to sit some big exams, and you might be thinking to yourself, I don't know enough. Because if you're focusing on the 60% that you don't know and not the 40% that you do, you will always feel that sense of lack. When you flick that and you start going, what do I know? Ask a better question, get a better answer. This is the key to a lot of things in the world. What do I know already? What do I need to do to build on that? You start addressing your material very differently than if you're focusing on the 60% you don't know, feeling huge dread and overwhelm and getting stuck in that horrible feeling of not being good enough. Because guys, newsflash, emotion drives motion. How you feel about something directly affects what you do or don't do. How you feel about something directly affects whether or not you're willing to set your intentions. Because guys, it's not about time. Procrastination is not about time. We all have the time. It's about your intention around it. It's about whether you want to throw yourself at this. That's it. So, and we also need to, with terrain, understand when we get that blinding clarity, to be kind to yourself. You have to operate in a place of forgiveness for what you have or haven't done. We have only now. Anything in the past, it's like driving, looking in the rearview mirror. You cannot do it. If we keep focusing on the past, we're thinking about remembered pain. I should have done this. I should have done that. It's easy to shit all over yourself. You have to must. What must I do now? When we think about the future, we're talking about imagined pleasure or imagined pain, but that's not real either. The past is a memory trace. The future is a memory trace, but a future memory trace. They're both fabrications of the brain. The only thing that's actually real is right now. So I just want you to do a little experiment. Hit your brain buttons, those of you that haven't worked with me before. It's just either side of your collarbone. Put your fingers in, give a little wiggle. Now put the other hand on your solar plexus. Take a breath in, close your eyes, and just feel into that feeling. And just sit with your body and just feel, where's my energy on a 1 to 10? How am I feeling right now? Just think about that and give yourself a number. Don't judge yourself. High is not good and low is not bad. Where is your energy riding today, right now? High is not good, low is not bad, but just feel into, where am I? And then give yourself a word. What do I feel today? Hit that feeling and work out where it localizes in your body. Where do you hold on to that? Thank you. When you're ready, just turn your awareness back to now. Open your eyes. So when we go into body energetics, when we go into where we feel resistance, we need to understand two things. We cannot aim true if we are being held back. I'll say that again because this is really important. We cannot aim true if we're being held back. I talked a lot last time about limiting beliefs, so I'm not going to cover the same ground again. This will always be new material for you guys, my favorites in my community. Lovely to have you all here. Thank you for coming. Do please make sure you go into the circle, and please do leave me a review if you like this stuff, because people only buy people if there's a no like trust continuum. You guys have been here sharing some time with me today. I hope you're getting good value already. You're going to get a whole lot more in a minute, but please do let other people know this value is there. Because as we build our communities in this space, what we want to do is work on validity, work on not just a show and telliness, but the actual, what am I getting from this? What's the value that I'm getting from this? So when we aim and we think about resistance, the resistance to any action is what you think it's going to do, is what you expect to happen. So whilst you can have all these highfalutin ideas of, I want to serve these people, I want to give this amount of value, I want to do this, if you are holding yourself back, if you've got that grit in the wheels, if you're in that first of the 4 R's, that resistance phase, which just feels like, doesn't feel quite right, you're not going to take the next step, which is the understanding when you're moving, what's it going to take? So in business process re-engineering terms, in my old career in the city, when I used to help big companies do change management, we talk about closing the gap. So Francine, the recordings are all in my circle. So make sure you're in the Tame Your Brain circle. Thank you, Rob. Rob's dropped a link in. So if you go from where you are now, your as is, and you look at your to be, okay, I want to do this, I want to get to here. You've got to close that gap. You've got to get from where you are to where you want to be. So let's take exams, because that's a very understandable process that most of us have been through at some stage. You start with nothing, or you start with some ground knowledge. What you want to get to at the end is an A grade, or these days, whatever they call it, grade 9, some wank, I don't even know what they call it. But we want to get here. So what is it going to take? Well, that means getting 9 out of 10 things right. So I have to learn 9 out of the 10 things they're telling me. It's literally that simple. And you have to understand, to get from here to there, there's some actions that you have to take. So this is the be, do, have continuum. And when we look at be, do, have, what we're talking about is, what do I want to have at the end? What have I got to do to get there? But what sort of being have I got to be to do the doing, to get the having? And we get it wrong, because we're not a human doing. We are a human being. So much of it comes back to here, to what you're feeling. And we get so confused, and we go into the human doing over and over, and we then get stuck. We get a bit stuck. So let's talk about it. Last time we talked about specifically a question that a lot of people get blocked by on a limiting belief, and that was money is. Some of you might get a bit triggered by that. Some of you might say it's hard, or it's the root of all evil, or it's something that I don't have enough of. But your answer to this comes from your limiting beliefs, comes from your feelings inside. So how can we change that if that's in your way? What do we do to get out of our own way? How do we stop procrastinating? Now, here's where it gets exciting. We have to be in our flow state. We have to understand our flow state and know what that is. So I get platformed to talk about this stuff all around the world. I've been doing this for a long time. I've also got a degree in behavior, a TEDx speaker as well these days. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a flow consultant and a peak performance consultant. And I'm a director for a couple of companies as well, in an advisory way to help lead them through. I get put on these big stages to teach people about exactly what I'm teaching you today. And the reason for that is because this stuff works. This stuff works. And the reason this stuff works is because it's about the human brain. And here's me with a stuffed monkey again, not to get too up myself. But we are basically human chimps. We are human chimps and we know what the brain does. So my first degree was in the neural mechanisms of behavior. And I did that, and I then did a medical degree, and I got so fascinated with the brain. This is what started my journey down this path. So as I said, it's about the subconscious brain a large part of the time. But what are the procrastination triggers in your subconscious? Well, there's actually a really short list. There's actually a really short list. And it's either that we get distracted, so like a cheetah brain, I'll talk to you more about that in a second. We have this locked and loaded focus on one gazelle, and then suddenly we go, oh, bright shiny penny, and we go off over here and we pull us up, because you'll have 3 brilliant ideas in the shower every morning and you'll follow through none of them because you've already got distracted by the next one. Also, cheaters love the significance of their ideas, so they get excited so long as they think it's possible, but then as soon as they think they might fail, cheaters go into avoidance behaviors. So cheetah brains are what we traditionally call like the dynamo. So that would be your creator brains, your mechanics, and to some extent your star profiles. So if you sit in one of those, you might recognize what I've just talked about there. We also run pain avoidance. So if you're what I call a lion brain, that's the type of person that's all about people. So it's a blaze energy, because it's like that living in a pride. So if you're a blaze energy, you have this personality, which is, we're all in this together. So what happens is connection is your biggest value. So as soon as there's a potentiality for rejection, you disconnect to save yourself the pain of being disconnected. How ironic. And so you won't run towards something that you might fear leads to rejection. Why? because that's what you care about most. Equally, there's things like the lack of pleasure. If you haven't attached enough pleasure to the outcome, you won't do the doing. Also, there's self-sabotage. If you fear the result, some people I work with come to me because they're doing really well, and guess what they fear? Success. And so they're at the sort of 20 million mark and they're going, I don't know quite what to do next. Because remember, the thinking that gets you where you are now is never the thinking that gets you to the next level. We have to change every time we elevate. We have to change thinking. It's really important to understand that. So let's talk about pain and pleasure, because this is the biggest part of why we do what we do. Which is stronger, guys? And just jump in the chat and just give me a nod. Which is stronger? Is it the desire to avoid pain, or is it the desire to gain pleasure for the human brain? Just tell me what you think that is in the chat. And you can have different opinions. No one's ever wrong in my seminars, by the way, guys. Jing's saying avoid pain. Hella's saying avoid pain. Yep. So we got a couple of votes for pain. Another one for pain. Yep. Perfect. Now, here's the thing. If you've been a parent and you've ever stepped on a Lego brick at 4 a.m, you know there is an instant hardwired reflex arc to avoid pain. Instant ninja, throw yourself in the air. And our bodies respond instantly because we know that pain could mean death. And this is important. Pain could mean death. Our wiring is very old. Our limbic system is hardwired to avoid death by saber-toothed tiger. Are there saber-toothed tigers anymore? No, not so much. Has our wiring changed? Not at all. We still run the same software to avoid pain that we used to. It's called fight or flight. You might have heard of it. There's also 3 others. There's freeze, friend, and flop as well. Another set of reactions. But we still run the same behaviors. Why is this important? Because ultimately, we're just trying not to die. Now, if you put it like that, we're just trying not to die, it makes you understand why procrastination can hold such a grip on you. And what is our pleasure wiring like? Can we wire to seek pleasure? Hell yes. Do we do it often? No. What we tend to do is we wish for something, we hope for something, and then we do some of the actions to get there for fear of embarrassment if it goes wrong. And then when it doesn't happen, we tell ourselves we didn't want it anyway, because we're afraid to jump in. So we start doing what we call away from behaviors. So instead of moving away from pain and towards pleasure, sometimes we start moving away from that potential pleasure for fear of failure. How nuts is that? When you think about it, how nuts is that we deliberately move away from the thing that we actually want because of what might happen if we don't get it? We don't jump in because we're scared it's going to be cold. Now, here's the thing. You can change that and you can start wiring your brain to move away from the pain of not having and towards the pleasure of having. This is something we can consciously do. And this is what I teach in my Tame Your Brain training, which is starting again in February. We're fully booked at the moment, but we're opening up the doors again in February. So if you're interested in this, if this stuff excites you, come at me, because we are ready. We are getting ready for the next round. Here's don't look at this if it scares you. Don't look at chemistry. Behavior is for a reason, guys. My point is behavior is designed to solve a problem, not be a problem. No behavior is designed to be a problem. It's designed to solve a problem. Why does that matter? Because what counts is that we want always to feel pleasure. We don't want to feel pain. We are terrified of pain. As we said earlier, there is pain your whole life. You are consciously putting yourself in pain, but we just are trained from a very young age to avoid failure, to avoid pain. So what happens is as soon as we trigger, lost my mouse, come back. As soon as we trigger this hypothalamic pituitary axis, as soon as we hit this anger, anxiety, disgust, shame, one of the biggest ones. And if you haven't heard of Brené Brown, go and look her up. She does amazing research into the biology of shame and what happens in your brain. It's really exciting stuff. But we want to be over here. We want to be in our dopaminergic neurology. Why? Because it feels great. You get a happy face like this when you're running dopamine. You start to feel good about your business because it feels great to fail. Because when you fail, it becomes wisdom from experience. And when you get wisdom, you learn what you need to do differently next time. You learn how to aim better, how to move better, or how to read the ground under your feet better. It gives you something. It doesn't just mean incredible, unbearable pain. So we have to get friendly with our biochemistry. Now, here's the thing. We need to think about the consequences. So what I want you to do is just on a piece of paper, draw yourself a crosshairs, just a line from 12 to 6 and a line from 9 to 3. And I want you to populate these quadrants for me, because there is a list of 4 things going clockwise from top left round that we need to think about. There's what happens if I do something and it's got positive connotations. Put that in your top left. That's quadrant A. Then we've got our sneaky subconscious brain in quadrant B, top right, which is what are the negatives if I do this thing that in theory I want to do, but actually might lead me towards pain. And then the other side of our sneaky subconscious brain, now we'll go bottom left. So this is C. What is the positive if I don't do something? This is called secondary gains. What's the positive if I don't do this thing that in theory I really want? Because there's always a payoff, guys. There's always a payoff. And the final one, which is our logical rational brain. What are the negatives if I don't do this? So what does that look like? It should look like this. Let's talk through. So let's take an example of something that we all know we should do, but it's a should, not a must most of the time. Let's take going to the gym. All right, we all know we should go to the gym, right? So I want you just to jot down for yourself in that top left quadrant A, positives if I do, 3 reasons why we benefit from going to the gym. So this is logical, right? We don't have to get emotional about this. Just jot down 3 reasons why I should go to the gym or why I should work out. 3 reasons in that positives if I do. So it could be lose weight, it could be better cardiac function, it could be better lung capacity, it could be more muscle tone, it could be fit into my jeans with more than just my left leg. It's where I'm at the moment. So what are the positives if I do? Now, here's where you've got to get a bit sneaky on your brain. What are the negatives if I do this? So for example, I know if I go to the gym, that is a cost of time. I can afford the money these days. That doesn't stress me as much as it used to in those days where you pay for a gym membership and then go once, right? But what are the negatives if I do this? Well, I've got this ridiculous lockdown hair. Look at it. It's ridiculous. It takes ages to wash that bad boy. And then I've got to dry it. And if I've got another go live like this, I'll have to put slap on again afterwards. Oh, and so that's an extra half an hour on top of the actual cost and time of going to the gym. So the negatives if I do for me is the loss of time. Also, I'm going to be really hot and sweaty, so I need to have a shower. Also, it's probably going to hurt because let's be honest, I've not been that much in this last 6 months. So there are negatives if you do something. The trouble is you won't often acknowledge this quadrant. So this is running behind your eyes. And guess what? If this one shouts at you louder than the positives if I do, will you go to that gym? Hell no. Absolutely not. But we haven't even finished yet. So now if we go down to quadrant C, there's also a sneaky list of things you can do if you don't go to that gym. What are the positives if I don't do this thing? What are the sneaky wins? Well, I can sit on my sofa and drink an entire bottle of wine tonight, because it is pointless me doing that. I would make a mockery out of having gone to the gym. But if I don't go to the gym, if I tell myself, and you know this, you know what I'm about to say, if I tell myself that beautiful lie, I'll start tomorrow. You know that because you do this too, right? And as soon as we say to ourselves, I'll start tomorrow, you've just not jumped in. You've dipped your toe and you've turned around because you think it hurts more than it does. So this positives if I don't is actually a very powerful list. I can sit and eat an entire Domino's pizza. I can watch Netflix on repeat. I can eat all the things that I know are pointless if I do go to that gym. All of this, does that create more pleasure? You bet. Does the previous quadrant create more pain? You bet. So when these are stronger than the other two, you are going to stay pinned to that sofa. Unless, and here's the kicker, our final quadrant, what are the negatives if I don't? This is called leverage. If we can make this one bigger, what are the negatives if I don't go to the gym? I'm going to die alone of heart failure. I'm going to have to buy an entire new wardrobe because I can't fit anything into my current, what can we leverage here? What can we build the pain on to be our catalyst, to propel us off that sofa and into that gym? What is it that we need to tell ourselves to stop procrastinating? So I want you to just pick a couple of those of real power. And I want you to right now for me, do one little exercise. And this is something I want you to do every day for the next week. I want you to write, I must make a success of my business because. I must make a success of my business because. And then I want you to pick a massive pleasure that you will get. That can either be your family, your spiritual growth, your mental health, your physical health, your relationships, your social life, your fun. So for example, I must make a success of my business because I need to buy my girls that pony that they've been badgering me about. That is why I must make a success of this business, number one. Or else, then I want you to caveat, or else they will grow up never having known the pleasure of that. So we want to leverage some pain as well. We want pleasure and pain. The brain works in both ways. So you need a because and you need an or else. And do at least one of these every day. What I get the people doing in my Tame Your Brain course, by the end of it, they've got 8 categories and they do 10 becauses and 10 or else's for each of them. So they end up with 160 reasons. Do you think that creates some leverage? Yeah, you bet. You bet. That is leverage right there. And when you sit there, and I do this myself, I always walk my talk. When you sit there looking at the pages and pages of reams of reasons why you must, it lifts that plane pretty bloody quick. So, guys, I hope this is resonating with you. Just jump in the chat and give me a yes if this is making sense so far. Because I'm going to pull this all together now. I'm conscious of time. I always try and stick to my time deadlines because I'm terrible at timing, being a massive cheetah brain. Oh, yes. Thank you, Duncan. Good. Yeah, loving it. Great reminders. Thank you, guys. Yes. Good. I'm pleased. Okay, so let's go. So we've talked about this dipping your toe and why that fear of pain can keep you trapped. We've talked about the fact that very often we live in pain, but let's be blunt, guys. Let's acknowledge this feeling of more. If you're an energetic match for wanting more, if you want more from life, you've got to be ready to jump. You've got to be ready to put yourself in that cold water. And as we all know, what's the quickest way? It's dive right in. It's not easing yourself down those steps limb by limb and letting the cold water freak you. Just jump. Just jump. You have to accept there is going to be pain. Yes, the water is cold, but what's the alternative? The alternative is living in comfort. For some people, that's all they want. They want a minimum wage job. They want to work in Tesco's and go home at the end of the night and watch EastEnders every night. That's their choice too. Do you want that? Do you want minimum wage? Because I don't think so. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be investing an hour of your time to learn how to make your brain better. And I honor you for that because I can tell by you being here that you're ready for more, that you want more. And wanting more is understanding you're going to be okay when you jump in. You're going to be okay. You can handle this, is my message to you. You can handle the pain. You can handle the disappointment. You can handle the fear of failure because you will be jumping in. It becomes handleable when you know what amazing rewards are on the other side. And when you understand, and I think what's going to change the world is self-made people. Because we have this huge dichotomy between poor and rich, where the poor look at the rich and think they must be bad people. They must have done something bad to get that, and therefore they should give it. And I think there's going to be a shift where, and rich look at poor people and fear losing it because they're living in scarcity mindset and they fear it going. So they don't want the poor to have it. And there's this horrible push-pull in the world that I see. As soon as we all start jumping in, making our own lives happen, that's the key. And making it happen regardless of the fear of pain, then suddenly we begin to get traction and the world starts to move on. Because if we understand this balance, this dichotomy between I want to do it, but I also don't want to do it, So I desperately want this outcome, but I also don't want it at the same time. We need that. We need the duality. Remember, we said earlier, you have to have hot and cold. You can only understand what hot is when you know cold. You can only appreciate light when you've seen dark. We've got to rebalance our brains to understand failure sits on the shelf next to success, but which one are you going to go into the shop and ask for? Which one are you going to? It literally is like walking into this giant shop of the universe, Costco or Asda or wherever is the same for your culture, but it's like walking up to the desk and deliberately saying to the clerk, do you sell TVs here? And they go, yep, we sell lots of TVs. And you go, I really don't want a TV. And they go, sorry, what? And you go, I just want to be clear, I don't want a TV. And they go, well, don't put it in your basket then. What are you going in for this year? What is 2022 going to be? Because we are 10 days away, guys. That's the thing. We've got 10 days left of this year. That's it. And then we're done. Now, here's the thing. If you are a dynamo brain, so that's up here on the grid, that's this green energy. I like to think of it like the cheetah, as we said earlier, that quick switching. You're all about innovation and significance. You're a visual brain and you're this interesting mix of introvert and extrovert. So this is creator, mechanic and star. And so you want things to be quick. But let me tell you, it's going to take you a year. It's going to take a year to get to the next level. Just accept that and start swimming. Because the longer you're standing on the bank dipping your toe, the longer it will take you. If you're a lion brain, if you're more around this heart and soul people person, so that's what we call blaze energy, this red over here. So that's the star, the supporter and the deal maker. You're going to want to connect with people. You're going to fear rejection so much because you're such a collaborative soul. You have this pride feeling of living together, sleep together, hunt together, eat together, because you love that connection. You're an auditory energy. So you want to hear success coming at you, and you're pure extroverts. You can run all day talking to people, but you're going to also struggle with those moments of disconnect, as we said earlier. If you're a leopard, it's much more about this sitting in the tree. So we're now down here at this yellow, this deal maker and trader and accumulator, where we start looking at systems instead of people. So we go from the big what to the big who to the big when and where. When and where is this going to? And you feel you've got a real kinesthetic processing style because you're all about consistency and context. And it really matters to you that things are fair. So it might feel very unfair if sometimes you go into comparisonitis watching everybody else succeed except for you. And you've got to remember that neutrality in the middle is what we need to strive for. Or you might be the mighty tiger brain, which is round this end. This is what we call a steel energy. So that's accumulator to lord to mechanic, wrapping back around the loop. And these tigers are that slow, steady pacing towards their goal, right? And so it's all about the data, the measurement, the management, the process. And this is an auditory digital energy and a pure introvert. So there's different ways of processing the world depending on your neurology that you're running. And so you will be procrastinating for different triggers. Now, I'm going to make you an offer now about if you want to learn more about this stuff. And please feel free to go. If you don't want to hear it, it's entirely up to you. If you want to stay, give me a yes in the chat. Love to connect with you all anyway. There's also a prize at the end for those that stay to the end, a little freebie. I've dropped my chat again. Look, I keep losing my chat box. Painful. Where are we? There we go. Don't like watching EastEnders, says Francie. Love to hear more. Good. Okay, I shall keep going then. Because these are always, as ever, these are all free content for you guys. I'm a partner with the Entrepreneurs Institute. I'm really happy to be one. I'm really happy to come and serve once a month and give you this content. But there is an opportunity, because I've got something really cool and I'm really excited about it, to come and work with me further for a very low entry price point. So I'm running at £550 an hour GBP normally. I've got something for you, which if you want to make the most of next year, it's worth jumping in on now, because it is a teeny weeny price point compared to my usual. Because if you're ready to build your business using this methodology, if you're ready to utilize my CV of experiences and all of this material that I've built up over the years of being platformed and speaking on all these fancy stages, I've got it packaged up beautifully for you. It is called Massive Money Magnet Experience, because a lot of the energetics that I've talked about today come from the field of quantum mechanics. It comes from the field of understanding where energy attracts money. So a lot of fuss was made of the law of attraction when it came out. They got a few bits wrong, but the principles are there. in that the universe is like a giant shop that you walk into, and you command what happens in your life when you know how. So here's some testimonials from people I've worked with before, and these are all genuine people. You can look them all up on my website. But if it's time for you, if you're ready to go all in, the thing that I've got on offer is a 4-week experience with me. It's not just another course. This is going to energetically shift you into resonating in a different way with money, because a lot of people fear money. A lot of people have a lot of blocks around that. One of the biggest that I hear all the time is, I just don't know if I deserve it. I don't know if I'm good enough. Why should they listen to me? Who am I to ask for that amount? And so much of value, not price, so much of value comes from here, comes from your self-belief. So this is a journey to build your belief in yourself. A real good example of that is Katie here on the right here. I launched my product in the second week, but I have some good news. I made 2,810 days from technically 12 hours. She did that after week 2, guys. Week 2 of a course with me. Because why? She already had everything she needed. You've probably already got in your hands everything you need. The difference is you. The difference is your self-belief. And that's what I've realized after years of working with people in this field. When we tweak your self-belief, when we dial up the energy that you have, and here's another 3 videos you can watch. They're all on my website as well. Feel free to go and check me out. But this experience is like no other, because I'm going to be supporting you every single day for 4 weeks. So every day there will be an action that you take. We have 1 hour's training a week. It's a 4-week course. 1 hour's training a week dropped throughout. So it's 5 sessions in total. There's a closed Facebook group that holds you safe with me in that space. And I'm going to look after you. I'm going to personally coach you through this. And you'll be with a cohort of other people also on the same journey. The group that I'm running at the moment are having such a brilliant time. We're coming to our final module tonight. And what's lovely is one of them today just unfortunately, sadly, came down with COVID. But her mindset shifts have been so huge that what she's written is almost like it's the biggest gift, because what she's done is reframe it to be about the time she's gaining rather than the money she's losing, because she can't work, obviously. And it's just so lovely to watch these shifts happen in real time. And so this is a way to stop you going round and round in circles. All of this is on the page. I think, Rob, are you still in? I can't remember if Rob's in. If you can drop a link to the circle and the product on there, because I think it's on the Genius U platform as well. So these are, again, testimonials from people that have worked with me. I worked with this lady, Amanda, yesterday, actually. Love her. She's in America. So I work in all different time zones. Mindy's in America. I think Emily's in Suffolk. Caroline's in Switzerland. These are all real people that have worked with me. And these are people who have done the work. You've got to do the work. You've got to jump in. But I'm going to help you. I'm going to swim alongside you, and I'm going to help you for 4 entire weeks. And that's quite a big offer, because I am fully booked. I am massively busy. But the benefit of working in a container with other people as well. Oh, thank you. Duncan's dropped in there. Amazing. The benefit of working with other people as well is you get a little community around you, just like here, where we've come together because you guys are interested in more. And I know I've gone quite fast today. I know I've gone through things quite quickly. And you might be thinking, do I need another course? This is not another course. This is about an energetic shift. This is about dialing up your barometers so that you're ready to receive. Of your own way. This will help move you through those blocks. And what it does as well is give you the shifts to make it happen. So I've gone really fast. My free gift for those of you here at the end, well done. I'm doing a bonus hour. I'm doing a closing of the year ceremony. This is so powerful, guys, because what we do is we go through 12 review points of this year. So there's 12 questions I'll ask you to write for 1 minute, 30 seconds about each. You rant, you get it out, and then we build next year's neurology. And then there's 12 questions that I work through with you then. This is going to be amazing. I just did this in my mastermind. So my mastermind, people pay me $147 a month to work with me ongoing throughout the year. And they get 1 session with me a month where I run them through the exercise that lifts them to the next level. The people, they were in tears. They were crying. I was crying. It's really powerful. And we do a closed eye process at the end that pulls it all together. So that's my gift to you, lovely people who've been here with me on this journey. If you are watching on Team Replay and you want to get in on that, drop me an email and I might be nice and send you the link. But I'd like to reward action takers. Action takers get results. You've taken action today. You've been here with me on this journey. And also, yeah, if you're watching on replay, you're taking action as well. So I'll reward you too. Why not? I've also got a sheet that you can have to take away from that session for free, which details all the questions. I do this every year, guys, and it creates a legacy, because guess what? Next new year, I look back at what I wrote at the start of the year and I go, yeah, I've done that thing. And it's really cool. And it gives you this building the neuropsychology of success. And guys, if you want to win a strategic analysis with me as well, for anyone leaving a review today, I will pull you out of a hat and you can do an hour's one-to-one with me as a thank you. And as ever, I like to do these things as a way of saying thank you, but we should all be doing things as only if we want to. It's not a bribe. It's just that I do like to randomly gift from the universe something lovely every time. So that's my offering for you guys today. I hope that has been an exciting run through for you. I always love coming into this community. You always have the best questions, and I usually get emails afterwards as well. So you can see my ridiculous name is at the top there. Emailing me is just libby@kimcaron.com. And my website is just kimcaron.com. I'm also offering up some free slots in January. I am fully booked at the moment, as I said. But if you want to book in a discovery call and talk about working further with me, I will be having some spaces come free at the end of Jan. So the discovery call has been opened up again on my website as well. So if you're interested in engaging with me one-to-one, either for a 3-month accelerator or for a year's mastermind, come at me and we can talk. But thank you for having me. It's been lovely to be here. I am ready for any questions. I know sometimes there are questions that are relevant to the material. Other times they're just questions about a concept. I'm really happy to go through both. We've got 11 minutes. Go.
There's a quick question from Francine. It's just really about the technicalities. Could you explain the review again? The question is, review is to enter into a prize draw.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Look, I've got my little cauldron. I use my little cauldron to pull people out of the hat. But yeah, whenever people are kind enough to leave a review after one of these things, because I'm rubbish at asking for them normally, so I've had to build in a thing that makes me remind myself to ask people by actually putting it on the slide. Roger's left me a nice review though, Duncan. Roger Hamilton himself has reviewed me. I feel happy about that, because I was on the summit with him last week. Yeah, and he's
very lucky.
I know.
He promised us all on a call a few months ago that we pointed out that Roger was mentor number 28 or something.
Yes.
And he wouldn't have it, would he? So he said, well, look, if you give me a review, I'll give you one back.
Funny.
I'm still waiting for mine.
You're still waiting? I'd poke him.
But you know, he pays my wages, so I can't complain. Francine asks where she can find the previous recordings of the calls. You can go to Francine. You know this. You've been around long enough. You can jump into Libby's circle, which is actually the links directly below your question, and also we dropped it in a little further down.
Thank you, guys.
Join the circle, and you'll find them in the stream. They're all there. They've all been live streamed on YouTube, and everything else is in there as well, Francine. So anybody else who isn't on the call and hasn't joined Libby's community, please do, so that we can all stay in touch. Of course, we're going to be having more content from Libby in 2022. As I alluded at the start, we had lots and lots of different partner events in Q2 of this year. And really, you know, we wanted to give everybody a run out and find out who was really popular. And so going into 2022, not that the others are unpopular, but they're going to be moving into different areas. As far as the live partner events, we're going to be concentrating on Tame Your Brain, Crypto Hour, and Del Lewis's advisory board. So keep them peeled, and I'll be giving you lots more info about that. Back over to you.
Thanks, Duncan. So one of the things that we started talking about today was about this handling the cold feeling. Thank you, Francine. And one thing I will say to you is that there has to, whenever you make a decision, you are making a decision. Even deciding not to decide is deciding something. So if you're teetering, if you're thinking about something that you'd like to do, but you're scared, there's a feeling of resistance, dig into that. Do the connection that I taught you earlier, that brain button's up here and hand on solar plexus. Feel where it is in your body. Give it a number, give it a color. work out where it localizes, because we get so disconnected and we start living all up here and overthinking everything. And we have to reconnect mind, body, and soul. And we have to understand emotion drives motion. It's how you feel about something that dictates whether you do or whether you don't, as we saw with that gym example. And so when you can start noticing your feelings, and that's what we spend the first week doing in Money Magnet, is we start reconnecting with self. And I've got this brilliant tracker that I give everyone, that's the Think, Feel, Do log of exactly what we go through in 1 week, because it's amazing how many thoughts and experiences we feel that we don't then recognize or honor. We just flip past them and somehow expect to be this high functioning, high performing machine. And until you start getting dialed in with all of your emotions, that's the good and the bad, that's the pain and the pleasure, that's the fear and the terror and dread and the huge ridiculous high, because it's only then you realize life is a series of moments. Life is a series of feelings. That's it. And when you get to if you're always playing that when then game of, when I get to this, then I'll feel happy. When I achieve 10K a month, then I'll feel a success. You run the risk of always running after that next thing. And when you get that thing, it doesn't feel that good. And then you start running for the next. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that have been through that journey. And we have to sink into now. There's only now. And sink into that feeling of, what do I feel like right now? And how can I experience more unbearable pleasure in this moment? Is a good question to ask yourself, because we can be grateful for so much. And it's only when you've lost everything that you then look back and really understand how little you need to feel happy. When we're always playing this questing game and always playing the chasing after the next big headline figure and forgetting to understand what the feelings mean in your body, that's when we lose the plot a little bit. So yes, jump in, yes, be brave and test that water, but also you've got to learn to live in the now, learn to live in that feeling of pleasure right now. So Xander, would you say we have a split personality, one side wanting to do something and the other not wanting to do it? Yes, it's like the cats having a fight, Xander. It's like if you're a cheetah brain, but you've also got a high percentage of leopard, some of you will be racing after variety and the other part will be wanting certainty. You need to learn which one to let out of its cage. And when I do a strategic analysis with someone, the first thing we do is look at your numbers, not the badge you've been given. The numbers tell you so much more than just your badge. Go and have a look at your profile and look at the percentages. Because when you understand that actually I've got 3 big cats that are dominant or 2 that are dominant, where's the fight? You know, what is this one wanting and what's that one wanting? And that's why I've sort of personalized them as cats, because it makes so much more sense when you think about what are the needs of this one. So if you're, for example, more of a tiger brain and you've got that real steely, and you don't care about people's opinions, like you literally couldn't care less. You're quite happy to sit in a darkened room and work on the data all day. The need for that tiger to have peace and quiet, privacy, you know, that's a much bigger need. Whereas someone from the blaze brain type who comes in, chats all day, then wants to go out a bar and chat about what they've just chatted about during the day, and then wants to chat at their ever-loving partner, you know, they're very different modalities. So equally, if you're running different modalities in your brain, there'll be different things that you need. So I'm a speaker on stages, I'm a star profile, so I can literally talk all day. This is my sweet spot, as you might have noticed. But I'm on stage with some other creator types, and what's hilarious is we finish our presentation, they walk off the stage backwards to go and have a lie down in a darkened room. I jump down and go and talk to the audience and interact with everyone and swap in business cards, and, you know, because that's my flow state. So knowing your flow is really indicative to what behaviors you're running and what you should be avoiding. It's a great question, Xander. Really, really good question. Thank you. So 5 minutes remaining. Anything else? No? Okay. Let me just check the chat, scrolling back. Have I missed anything, Duncan? I always do try and get you out under the hour.
I don't think there's anything
Good.
that's gone amiss there that hasn't caught your eye.
Good.
Anybody else got any questions? You're welcome to unmute yourself for a moment.
Yeah, feel free to unmute and just dive in if anyone wants to say anything.
That one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Libby. And what's what you say really makes sense. When you really know what you have to do, but are not doing it.
Yes.
How do you get yourself to do it?
You need to get leverage. So if you look at the diagonals on that grid that you drew, and you leverage A and D, as opposed to B and C. You have to minimize B and C. You have to find a way to negate B and C and maximize the pain and the pleasure. The pleasure is A. So for example, if you're looking to go to the gym to lose weight, you'd put the list A on your mirror to incentivize you, leveraging the pleasure of what will it look like once I've been through this process, once I've got the result, once I've got to the having. Remember that be, do, have. Then you'd put the list D of what the negatives if I don't on your fridge. That's leveraging the pain, stopping you doing midnight fridge raids by making a very visible list of pains, really obvious in front of your eyes. We do a lot better as humans when we habit stack. So one of my sessions in the new year, just to give you a quick heads up of what's coming, is about atomic habits, about building those little tiny incremental gains in your life by habit stacking firstly. So that's linking something you do to something that you're already doing. So for example, I already brush my teeth twice a day. So if I choose to therefore say my unicorn statement to myself whilst I'm brushing my teeth, I'm more likely to say that unicorn statement to myself. So I'm more likely to remember this new habit that it's not adding to my day, it's integrating because I'm habit stacking. So I'm already doing this thing. So I might as well put something else and layer it over the top. And so what that means is I'm going to get the benefit of doing that without any extra time cost. I'm already there anyway. And you can do that with everything, unloading the dishwasher, having a wee, making a cup of tea and waiting for the kettle to boil. You can habit stack. And that's a really cool way of creating leverage around a piece that you want to get done. But in answer to your question, yes, if you're resistant to something happening, it's because of the way you feel about it. So you have to change those feelings first. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Thank you very much. Yeah.
A pleasure. Lovely to have you here. Thank you, Francine. Right, got time for one more. Who's going to put their hand up and ask that thing that they've been afraid to ask? I'm ready to answer. Be brave.
Libby,
we got Hella. Yeah.
It just makes me think of training myself to get into a cold plunge pool. And as I go down the steps, I say to myself, it's just a different temperature. It's just a different temperature. What am I doing?
That's perfect. So you're doing a reframe. So you're asking your brain to think of it in a different part of your neurology, which is really clever. So when we reframe, what we're doing is focusing away from the knee jerk, away from that saber-toothed tiger software, right? It's very easy to fall into amygdala hijack, and then you've only got a certain number of options available to you. That's, in this case, would be probably freeze, like the rabbit in headlights, or we do the flight, run away. So there's those software that run immediately, and they are hair trigger fast. You don't have to think because they're reflex arcs. So, for example, if you're standing on the edge of a tube platform in London or the subway in New York and someone pushes you from behind, you don't have to think, how do I not die here? Your body's pre-programmed, right? So it throws you backwards away from that threat of death. And now it's very easy for you to typify that cold water as threat of death, but you're reframing it and saying it's just a different temperature, which is really cool. And what you'll then do is you'll switch into a curious mind, a noticing mind, instead of a fearful mind. You can't run the two systems at the same time, by the way, guys. That's why I always ask people to deliberately engage their curiosity buttons when we start, because you can't run your fear methodologies at the same time as being curious. So here's a tip. If ever you get triggered by somebody on the internet, all the rows that are happening now as everyone's suddenly an epidemiologist, get fascinated instead of getting angry. Just get really curious. That's fascinating is my usual response. Why would you think that is the case? And then dig in that mindset. And it's so liberating because it takes you out of running your saber-toothed tiger software and it puts you back in the driving seat, because then you can notice what you're feeling. And again, give it a number, give it a color, give it a location in your body, notice it, and then you're in control. So I hope that's useful, Hella. Good, great question. Thank you. Okay. Oh, look, we've run out of time. Thank you, guys. Lovely to have you all. Please do engage. Please do go and look at Money Magnet, see if it's right for you. But again, I always want you to feel proud of yourself for where you are now. If it's not something you can invest in now, that's fine too. There's never any pressure from me to sell to you, because I believe in serving, and it's not serving you if you have to put yourself in debt to do it. So please, with love, feel great about what your decisions are. because that's who I am and that's who I want to be with you. So please do join us next time. What are we at? Third week in January, Duncan? I haven't got a date for that, but I'm guessing it's around the 21st, isn't it? Something like that.
You caught me out.
18th, 21st. Let me check.
You totally called me out, I'm afraid.
It will be in the circle. That's all we can need. 18th. There we go.
Absolutely. What a great reason to join the circle, guys, so you can brush up on the information that we've forgotten. It absolutely is the 18th, and same time, same place.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So lovely to have a connection with you today. Big love to you all and Merry Christmas. See you next year. Bye.
Thanks so much, Libby. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you next time. Merry Christmas to you.